we have here is called turkey tail. And this mushroom, not necessarily edible in the traditional sense, but it is a medicinal mushroom. It has many medicinal purposes. I'm gonna take it home with me, and I'll show you some of the ways to identify it, and I'll tell you about some of its uses. Getting some sticks out of my brush pile back here in the back of my backyard for doing a little campfire tonight, and I see some turkey tail. Now that there, whatever that is something different. That's not a real turkey tail, I don't think. What that is, this is, I already did some checks on it. Okay, I want to talk to you about some of the identification factors of true turkey tail. There are a lot of very similar mushrooms out there that grow in the same sort of pattern that are not true turkey tail. And I don't know that any of them are poisonous or that they will hurt you, but they're not recommended. I don't know if enough studies have been done on all of them, but turkey tail for sure is the one that has the true medicinal purposes. The first thing I always look for is this prominent white edge, or very light cream sometimes. Sometimes it's not this pronounced, sometimes it's a lot smaller, but it's still there. There's still a bit of white just right on the very edge. The first thing I look for, just to kind of tip me off that, hey, this might be real true turkey tail. There's some others that sort of have that. I have some false turkey tail here that you can see kind of has the light color around the edge as well, but I'll talk about those in a minute. This is a polypore mushroom, which means it has pores on the underside. That's where they release their spores from. No gills. But you do have to make sure that it does have pores. And I don't know if this will come out on video, but this definitely does have pores. I can see it with the magnifying glass. However, true turkey tail has very tiny pores. I'll just bring forward these examples I have here that are not true turkey tail. They're false turkey tail. You may not be able to see that, but I cannot see any pores on the undersides of these. They just look like a smooth surface. Even with the magnifying glass, no matter how hard I try, I can't see any pores. So I know that they're not turkey tail. The true turkey tail, you can see the pores with a magnifying glass. Some with good eyesight could probably see it with the naked eye. But they are very small in that there will be about 3 to 8 pores per millimeter. Now there are some other mushrooms that could be confused with turkey tail that have larger pores to where you have 1 to 3 per millimeter. So if you're not sure, just hold a ruler up there with a magnifying glass and kind of count how many pores are within a millimeter. If they're very small and it's anywhere from 3 to 8, then good chance that it could be true turkey tail. But if they're larger than that, then you know that they're not. So the next thing you want to look for is these prominently defined color zones. You see the bands of color. Now they can vary in color. They can be very brownish like these are here. I've seen some that are a lot oranger in color, with some some light grays and whites mixed in, maybe even some greens or blues. You can see there's a bit of orange right there in that band. But all these different bands are pretty prominently defined. Whereas some of them, maybe like this, it just there are some different shades, but it just kind of blends together. It's not prominently defined like these are. And also, there are some that are textured. They have the same look with the layers, but it's not really difference in color. It could be all the same color. It just kind of have ridges where they drop down, so you could feel the ridges, but it's not necessarily a different color. That would not be true turkey tail. True turkey tail has the very defined lines of different colors. And this is another thing that you could probably only see with the magnifying glass, and probably is not coming out on the video. But they are very slightly fuzzy. They have little tiny hairs on the top portion of the cap. So I can feel it very faintly. It's just got a little bit of a velvety feel, and I can see them with the magnifying glass. But that's another thing you want to check for. The underside will be white, or sometimes like a really light gray or a really light beige. But one other thing is that they are very pliable. They're very leathery. They're tough, very tough. You can't just pull them apart very easily. I could if I really tried, but the leathery is the best way I can describe it. There are some tiny shelf mushrooms like this that look similar, but they're very hard, very crisp, and that would not be turkey tail. You have to be able to bend them and flex them. There's places online that sell it in capsules that you can take, and that basically all it is dehydrated and finely ground up turkey tail inside the capsule. People sell it as a tea, and same thing, it's just dehydrated and finely ground up. What you can do, you can take the entire thing. I would recommend cleaning the dirt off, but you can take the entire thing, a bunch of them like this, and boil them in the water, and you'll get the benefits of the tea. The nutrients will pull out of it. But it's recommended to dry them out and grind them up fine first, because then you have more surface area for the juices and the nutrients to be excreted from. So I've heard of some people that just take it and chew on it raw as they're walking through the woods, just sort of chew the juices out of it. I've never tried that. And like I said, they're very leathery and often very dirty on the underside. I would try to get that as clean as I could first. But I've heard that people do it. I can't recommend or not recommend it, but it's something you can look into if you're interested. Okay, so here I've got some turkey tail that I've ground up. This is a little more than half a pint. If you look online, there are many different ratios that people tell you to do when you're boiling for tea. Just feel it out, see what works best for you. I'm doing, like I said, a little more than half a pint to a half gallon of water that I've got heating up now. I've ground it up a little bit. This is not the finest grinder, it's just a magic bullet, but I did shred them a little bit and grind them up a little finer than what they were when I was just slicing them thin. So that'll give me some more surface area for the constituents to be extracted from. Now in this video I'm just going to do a hot water extraction, which makes a tea basically. Now, like the reishi mushroom and like other medicinal mushrooms such as artist conch and some others, turkey tail has multiple types of nutrients, I guess, constituents that have medicinal properties. The polysaccharides, particularly in the turkey tail, polysaccharide K is the one that it's really rich in, and that can be extracted with water, and that is what really boosts the immune system and also provides an anti-cancer, anti-tumor. It's got antiviral and antibacterial properties, as well as energy-giving properties. So that's what we're going to pull out with the water extract. There's other constituents that can be drawn out with alcohol, and I'm going to do a separate video on that with the reishi mushroom. I'm going to do an overview on the reishi, as well as a separate video, I think, on doing the alcohol extraction to make a double extraction and make a tincture out of it. But yeah, I'll save that for that video. You can do that with the turkey tail as well. But for this video, I'm just going to do the tea, the hot water extraction. So those are some of the health benefits that turkey tail has. Okay, we've got the water to a rolling boil. That's what you want to start with. We'll add the mushrooms. Sort of fluffy, they sit on top for a few seconds, but they'll work their way down in there. What we want to do is reduce the heat. We just want it to simmer now for at least 2 hours. There's some out there that will say at least an hour. There are some that say 4 or 5 hours. I generally go with 2. It's not like an herbal tea where you can just let it steep for 10 or 15 minutes. You really have to give it a nice long hot bath to pull out those properties. I'm going to cover it up most of the way, just leave it cracked a little bit, and I'll get back with you when it's done. Okay, so this simmered down for about 2.5 hours actually, and I've let it cool. Now the water reduced a lot, but I'm going to go ahead and strain it, and then we'll see how much it comes to, but I'll probably go ahead and fill the rest of the jar with just water. Okay, now the mushrooms soaked up a lot of the water, so what I want to do is squeeze as much of that out as I can. They really plumped up to a larger volume than what I put in there dried. Now because it reduced so much, I actually had a full half gallon of water in there in the beginning, but I'm actually going to add water to it, because even though the water evaporated off, the nutrients from the mushroom didn't go anywhere. So it'll dilute it a little bit. It just depends on how strong you want it. I'd prefer it to last a little bit longer. It tastes like a really mild mushroom broth. It's not bitter at all like the reishi mushroom tends to be. So some people recommend you drink 8 ounces a day. Because I don't have that much turkey tail, I've been drinking just probably about a half of one of these glasses a day, and it's gotten me through the winter, but pretty soon I'm going to be out. But I'm going to focus a lot more this year on targeting the medicinal mushrooms, the turkey tails and the rishis, and hopefully for next year I'll have a lot more. Okay, so who wants to try it? This is not sweetened at all. You can put honey in it to make it better if you want to.
It tastes like flavored water. Like, it doesn't even taste like mushroom.
It doesn't taste like mushroom flavored water?
Like
good flavor?
Yeah, it's like, well, it's sort of strange. Yeah, it's like mushroom flavored water.
Take a bigger sip. Bigger sip.
A bitter sip. Sort of strange, but I like it.
One more thing I will say is that if you're new to this, they say to take it slow at first, because it might take your system just a little bit to get used to it. If you take too much, you could get a little bit of an upset stomach, but it won't hurt you. Trametes versicolor was the Latin name of that mushroom. Hope you enjoyed the video.